Hey, I want to welcome you guys back to another episode of the AWM NFL Podcast. My name is Riccardo Stewart, and I'm privileged to be your host, and I'm joined with my friends and my coworkers. We got Zach Miller, Jeff Locke, and Sam Acho. And so this is kind of the last episode of a longer conversation we've been having about the 5 needed skills to create and sustain multi-generational wealth. We talked about human capital being one, and that is investing in yourself to create value. And then once you create that value, you're going to make some money. And when you make money, the undefeated thing that comes after you is skill set number 2, and that's taxes. But then after taxes, you get a chance to understand and play the cash flow game. And then with the cash flow game, after spending and sharing, you want to make sure that you save. And so I know in the last episode, we talked about what does it look like to put my money to work and give every dollar a job. And then once you have all of that, like you got to step back and you got to think about, okay, this is open air architecture. Like what's the bigger plan that I have to create and sustain multi-generational wealth? And with that, you got to be a CEO, because when you are a multi-millionaire, like you are, and an ultra high wealth net worth athlete, can't even get it out of my mouth. That's how much money you've made. Like you got to be a CEO and you got to be able to make decisions. And you guys have heard me say it before. Actually with Notorious B.I.G. who said more money, more problems. What I like to say, it's not necessarily more money, more problems. It's more money and there's more complexity. That when you make that much money, there's a lot of complexity. And so Jeff, I'm going to start with you first. Speaking of the complexity, when it comes to choosing a team and the amount of things that it needs that need to be in place for a family to create and sustain multi-generational wealth, can you just rattle off a few like very important things in the life of an athlete?
It's dangerous, right? Give me the opportunity to rattle off as much as I want about financial planning. But I'm going to do it. I'm going to love it. So first things that we run into is the tax side. You talked about it, Rick. So it's like, hey, do I need LLCs? I have an LLC. Do I file as an S Corp or just file like a regular person? I got these retirement accounts. How much do I put in them? How should I invest within the retirement accounts? Why do I have retirement accounts? Do I need them? What do they do for me? Defending residency is one thing, right? You say you live in Texas, but you play in California. How are you going to defend that when California comes after you for their taxes, right? How are you going to choose how to build your team to defend that? Investing, we've talked about. What accounts do I use? What do I invest in? Do I do public? Do I do private? Insurance, the one thing none of us ever want to deal with, but you got to have it to protect yourself. Renter's insurance, home insurance, auto insurance, umbrella insurance, life insurance, disability insurance. Privacy, that's one thing that we deal with a lot. Our clients go out and buy a house. How do you make sure fans aren't going to know where you live? How are you going to structure your trust or your LLC so you're fully protected? Charity, right? If you're charitably inclined, who do I give to? How do I give to save the most on taxes? Kind of like charity is sharing with family, sharing with friends. Who do I help? How do I help? When do I help? How do I make sure my family's not just fully reliant on me for the rest of their lives in the way I give? And then some stuff like family planning. We call it family planning. You might hear estate planning, but do I need a trust? Do I need multiple trusts? Who should the beneficiaries be? The trustees be? Do I give someone power of attorney over the trust? These are all little things and really not little things. These are all things that we help our clients with and things you got to consider if you're going to be the CEO of your business as a big time NFL player.
Yeah, that's, what's the word I'm looking for? Overwhelming. And so, I mean, it's crazy when people say, well, I got all that. I could just do that myself. I mean, just even one of the things we talked about and there was investing. And Jeff, you mentioned it. You mentioned there's the private and the public market side. Just even talk us through like the private and the public markets. Like how does an NFL player think through that in an educated way?
Well, it's one of the toughest things to understand is the public market. Anyone can go buy any of those investments, whether that's a publicly traded stock, a bond, all of those things anyone has access to. You can open a brokerage account and you can buy those. That is the total opposite of the private markets, where access matters and access is the name of the game. The reason that access matters is because the best private investments they don't need your money. They don't need your dollars. They have people banging on their door to get the money invested in the best performing funds, the best performing managers. And so why that matters is if you can't get access to the best, you shouldn't even bother investing in the private markets because you either lose money or you underperform the public stock market. So the biggest takeaway you can have for that is if you're going to do private investments, you have to have access or get your money into the best funds that actually have reliably shown to outperform. And then you have to find a way to keep getting that access year after year after year in a strategic manner. Because you, as an NFL player, you should be a long-term investor investing generationally. And so to have that strategy that you continually have the access, you continually can invest in those private markets, the returns are incredible. The returns are there. So it does make sense to take that risk. If I could go back in time and when I earned my big contract with the Seahawks, would have put that in venture capital, the best venture capital, the best private real estate, my returns would be 2 to 3 times higher than those kind of just public market returns I would have gotten. So that's why it matters when you're creating generational wealth is those type of returns are hard to get. But as an NFL athlete, there are ways to get access to those funds.
I'm like, I have somebody in mind. Okay. Um, I'm thinking about an NFL player. I signed a second contract. I'm well into making about 15 to 20 million a year. And I'm listening to Jeff talk and I'm thinking, okay, I don't know if I have anybody that's managing my NFL 401k, my cap plan, my pension plan. I'm not really sure right now, like how I'm invested. And this venture thing that Zach talked about, I don't know if I'm a part of that. And gosh, I'm just trying to figure out what's next. Like, Sam, what about things just relationally? Like, talk to me about how important even planning is of someone who's going to get married, maybe have kids and so forth.
Well, it's not just planning, it's just having people to make you aware of some of these things. Because think about it. Before you're married, you may not be thinking about planning for a wedding. Before you buy a house, you may not be thinking about either paying for it in cash or using a mortgage, or you may not be thinking about these things. Before you have kids, you're likely not thinking, okay, let me set aside money for maybe their college, or if they go to certain schools. You're not thinking about any of these things. So part of the benefit of having people around you who've been there before, think about guys like Zach, right? Highest paid tight end, who's saying, man, I could have made 2 to 3 times more. Guys like Jeff, played multiple years in the NFL, who's like, dude, I did this when I was with my teammates, just teaching them how to think like a CEO, right? Like even me, I'm thinking about myself I got married going into my 4th year. And sure, I was thinking, okay, I got money set aside for a wedding, but I wasn't thinking about, okay, what does life look like now with 2 people? You know what I mean? Like, how do you pay for things for 2 people? Oh, I wanted to have kids. Sure. But I wasn't thinking about, oh, now you have to like prepare things for my kids. And what's an estate? Like, is that like a country estate? What do you mean? It's like, oh, when I die, whoa. I was thinking about, oh, insurance. Oh, I have this house that I love. Oh, wow. Well, the house just flooded. Oh, I needed insurance. Oh, I already had it with, no, you need a different kind of insurance. Oh, security. People are sending letters to my house because they wanted me to sign autographs. How do I have my address? I wasn't even thinking about that. So the benefit of having people who have been there and done that, have the playbook, is enormous, because it's not just a talking, someone just telling you from something that they've read. It's lived experience of, hey, here's what it is like to be an athlete CEO. And here's what it's not like. Here's what it's like to handle stuff with family. Here's what it's not like. And so that's the thing that I think I appreciate the most about what I do. What we do is, like, we're not necessarily trying to be influencers. Like, we're leaders. Like, leaders go first. So some of us have experienced some things that you're actually living or that you may live. And so it's this thing of, hey, let's share that knowledge, and not just like, all right, boom, pat on the back. That was great. See you later. But we will also walk with you as you go through some of these steps that you're going through. And so that's just the benefit, just to the point we've been talking about, of all those things that Jeff listed off. I mean, if you could see my face, I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. First, it was like, that's a lot. Then I was like, oh man, that happened to me. Oh, and that happened to me. Oh, and I didn't even know about that. Oh, I just did that. So there's a huge benefit of this idea of, yes, knowing what you know, but also having people who know what you don't know, and it can help educate you about it.
So I'm like definitely against these e-bikes that these kids ride around. And my son really wants one, my 13-year-old. And okay, if you want one, you have to build it. You got to earn your money and you have to build it. And what he's realizing is, okay, I really want the e-bike and I want to ride the e-bike and I know how to ride an e-bike. I think I'll be safe, but I'm realizing there's so many different parts to like building it that I had no idea. People want to be NFL players and they become NFL players and they want to be elite NFL players and they become elite NFL players. And there's all of this money. And now they're going, okay, I didn't know there were this many parts to actually living the life that I want to live. Jeff, if you could wrap us up and then just talking about what role should I expect my agent and maybe marketing team to play? And then what roles should be filled by the rest, essentially my financial team?
And so your agent and your marketing team are extremely important. And the way I think about it is they are in charge of making sure you bring in the most amount of money over your entire football contract. Doesn't mean take the highest paying contract right now. They're thinking over the life of my contract, how do I maximize my value for endorsements while also maximizing my value on the field, right? Ink the contract, right? They're doing a great job for you. Once that money comes in, your family office takes over and handles the rest is the way to think about it, right? Making sure your money stays with you and your family and the least amount is seeping out of the house, right? We want to keep as much of your money, whether it's the tax man, whether it's insurance fraud or insurance cases or other types of things where the air slowly leaks out of the house, we seal it up, right? And we make sure it stays in your house for as long as possible for what you and your family want to achieve.
So at the end of the day, it is a gift. It's a blessing and it should not be a burden to make the millions you've made as an athlete. But what that means is you have the responsibility and the challenge of being the CEO. And as the CEO, you have to take the time and choose the right men and women to create your team. So one of the most important decisions that you're going to be able to do and make is to choose the right team. And what we would tell you is, at least on the comprehensive financial side, what you probably want is a family office. And that's something we're going to talk about in our next few episodes. Like, what is a family office? Particularly who needs it? We would say you. And then when and where do I find such things? And so if you have any questions about anything you've heard from us over the past previous episodes or for this episode, we'd love to be able to hear from you. And so you can reach out to us. The number is going to be on your screen. It's 602-989-5022.